there, I'm Jessica Sterling. I am a Los Angeles-based photographer, and today I wanted to share a couple of quick tips for shooting in the dark. Low light shooting tips. When the lights get low, please. Anyone can get tack-sharp photos at high noon with professional lights when the sun is like but when the sun starts to go down, things can get a little rough. Today I'm shooting with Tamron's new 1770 f2 Di3A VC RXD. What's up? It has a special vibration compensation feature that really helps you out when you're in a jam. And I'm shooting on the Sony 6400 camera body. This lens is super lightweight, responsive, and flexible on my crop sensor camera. Obviously, using a tripod or monopod is awesome for reducing camera shake, and so is off-camera flash for freezing motion. Duh. But sometimes you just don't have that option. So the first thing to consider is shutter speed. If you use anything slower than 1/200th of a second, you'll probably get some blur. But since in real life, outside of a studio, you're probably gonna have to use something slower. You can't cheat physics, but this is where technology can really help you out. A great lens with awesome image stabilization like Tamron's VC gives you more flexibility to get the shots you want. So you can push a little lower shutter speed and still keep things sharp. That being said, here's some tips to keep things pretty. To minimize motion blur, it helps to have your client moving toward you. A, it is much easier to keep them in focus, and B, their position in the frame won't change as much as it would if they were moving across your frame, so motion blur isn't as much of an issue. If you're running and gunning, you might have a tendency to move on before your shutter is actually done shuttering. I had that problem when I first started shooting, and I couldn't figure out why all my portraits and even with studio lights were still a little soft. Just hold your darn shot. So this one might seem a little weird, but it's basically you hold the camera, you kind of bring your elbows in, you bend your knees a little bit, and you kind of exhale as you shoot, like that. And that way you like have better balance and your arms aren't sort of like flailing around and there's less camera motion coming from you. Look, I know it's tempting to crank your camera to like 65 bazillion ISO, but then you're missing out on your camera's natural color rendition, the sharpness, and just the most beautiful aspects of your camera. I try to keep my ISO closer to 400, or even 100 if I'm being extra picky, and see if I can work with that. I want to use it as my baseline for the best quality that I can get. Also, just shoot more shots than you think you might need. Don't give up only shooting maybe 1 or 2. This improves your chance of getting the shot. So shoot a lot to get a lot. Unless you're doing portraits of people standing in one spot, it can be tough to keep their eyes in focus, especially if you're shooting at 2.8 or something. You just can't predict where they're gonna move, so I usually try and keep my f-stop at around 5-6. Don't get me wrong, I love a good bokeh, but sometimes you just need to be able to get a shot where people are actually in focus. Okay, in closing, difficult lighting situations can be, but with a little help with some awesome gear and a few tricks, your creativity can really rock. Be sure to like, subscribe, and comment below. Thanks for watching.